Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me Priyanshi Samant and here I am covering this book which is Why Bharat Matters, written by S. Shankar, and I have already covered two of the chapters in my previous three videos, and if you haven't watched them you can refer them. So in this video I'm going to cover the third chapter of this book. The third chapter of this book is The State of the World, Understanding the Landscape. So from the title we can refer that in this chapter S. Shankar is going to highlight the fact that how today's world has become much unpredictable and also filled with a lot of vulnerability. So in this very order we are going to start. So the as Jaishankar, he started this chapter by mentioning a line which PM Modi declared in Samarkand in September 2022. So there in Samarkand, PM Modi said that it is not an era of war. This this statement resonated across the world because naturally it is so filled with skeptical. It is, this sentence itself is very skeptical. That what does it mean? So it means that the world which is full of interdependency, so any of the war is going to be really very dangerous. So that's why PM Modi said these lines. And next to it, he has mentioned of how conflicts and how crises like COVID-19, COVID pandemic, and Ukraine conflict and violence in West Asia has led to frequent events where the world has been shattered. And further, he has mentioned about climate events and economic stress has been resulted by all these events which are happening there in current scenario. Further, these have also aggravated east-west polarization and north-south divide. Then he says that the world matter for each one of us as it has done never before. Next, he says that we do not know that what immediate future holds for us. So the pace at which there have been technological advancement, economic and social change has accelerated so much that it is very difficult for us in order to anticipate or predict that what is going to happen next. In the next paragraph, he has mentioned of this story related to Ramayana and Mahabharata. He has mentioned of Hanuman and Krishna and three stories of the character from these. So he has said that Hanuman is the embodiment of service, whereas Krishna is can be seen as a strategist or counselor. So he has written the story which I am not going to tell. Further, I am going to move towards the next topic. He has mentioned about towards an uncertain, insecure future. He says that the current world is leading towards uncertain and insecure future. So next to it, he mentioned about how COVID was initiated from a Chinese city, but it took over complete world. All over the world, people were impacted by COVID-19 for more than even 2 years. Next, he mentions of the ongoing conflict in the Europe and also climate events. So he has given these examples as how our life are directly impacted by the events throughout the world in any of the place they are happening. So he says that in this age of globalization, there is no escape from the world. So, but he says that it doesn't mean that we need to be apprehensive about global development, whereas defensive in our approach. So he says that the flip side of this very independence is in the same world is also full of possibilities. He finds that yes, there are many places where we need to be preventive, but at the same time, it is full of opportunities as well. So he mentioned that how Vande Bharat mission, that was a mission for evacuation of the diaspora of India during the COVID-19. So when 7 million plus Indians were being brought back during COVID, so it shows that how much Indian population is there in the world. So it also reminds that India of today utilizes the global workspace. India's talent, Indian skills, India have been a part of global innovation, manufacturing, and services. So that's why we strive to ensure better access to our talent, stronger protection for our workers, greater opportunities for our students, and fairer market for our businesses. So, but he says that like it was more being about mobility of goods and services, but he says that the world is not just being about mobility and migration. So he says it is much more about partnerships, compacts, and understandings. And in fact, he mentioned about deeper engagement with the other nations, because deeper engagement with the other nation can lead to accelerating our national development, exploring more markets, procuring resources, improving our quality of life, expanding employment, and shaping crucial global issues that determine the future of the planet. So he says that for any nation, if the nation wants to develop in some way or other, it is very important to have interaction with other countries in the world, and to have it is more being about partnership, to form your partnership with the other nations abroad. Later, next to it, he mentioned about globalized era. So he says that globalized era is double-edged existence. So it is hard to separate the vulnerability from the dependence, of the risk from the benefit. Yes, with the globalized world, there are so many benefits, but at the same time, there are vulnerabilities as well. There happen dependency which leads to vulnerabilities. But he says that the COVID era has showed us how much we are dependent on cross border flows of goods and services. So, but that time India was both a contributor as well as beneficiary. Like we can see the example of how India delivered vaccines, shipped vaccines to more than 100 of the nations during COVID pandemic. Further, nation in the Gulf were critically dependent on Indian exports for their daily consumption during COVID pandemic. But that was the contribution of India, but India was also benefited. For example, during the medical oxygen crisis in 2021, when the same country cited to make shipment to us. So this is just like a transaction which we are having with the world, and the nations are the players. So next to it, he shows about like in during the period of crisis, we only get to know that how vulnerable the world is, how limited the geography is, like how the virus which started from a city in China has led the complete world to suffer. So, but next to it, he mentioned that it is very important ease of doing business, because for production linked incentives and manufacturing, whenever there will be ease of doing business, that will always lead to the economic raise or economic productivity of any of the nation. Then he mentions about digitalization. So he mentioned that the last few years have encouraged us all to become more digitalized. So we in India have a record that is generating widespread respect for good reasons. So we have good delivery in digitally in the field of food, finance, health, pension, or social benefits. But he also mentioned of the risk at the same place. Yes, digitalization has many good things to offer, but at the same time, there are risks like of data privacy and data security. So he says, with respect to this thing, that if risks are there, what is more important? To have trust and transparency in order to use the technology effectively. Next, he mentions that like we are entering into the world of AI, artificial intelligence, and CET, which is critical and emerging technologies. So, but they have their own set of problems. So he mentions about climate change or strategic concern. So countries have shifted towards greener and cleaner sources for energy and mobility. I have mentioned earlier about what are greener and cleaner sources. These are renewables. We are currently dependent on fossil fuels, which are non-renewables, but we are looking forward for energy transitioning, where we will be using cleaner and greener resources like wind, solar, water, etc. So next to it, we are going to start with national capabilities. So he mentions that nations have made CET, which is critical and emerging technology, a priority for both their national capabilities and also for collaborative endeavors. Collaborative endeavors means many nations altogether for their combined benefits. But he next to it mentions that how things which were benign have now weaponized. He mentions trade, connectivity, debt, resources, tourism. These all, which were very basic things or natural things to us initially, now have been turned into, have become the points of political pressure. And taking the example of Ukraine conflict, that has dramatically widened the scope and the intensity of such leveraging. So next we mention of global rules, regimes, and practices. They are definitely gamed. At the end, we just want to have our national benefit. So any of the global rules and regimes and practices are altered in such a way we are achieving our national advantage. And he says that in present world, the present world is facing great power competition. Every nation is fighting for the power, and there have been which is leading to or enhancing the stress factor across multiple domains. So yes, yet there are many challenges, but at the same time it can be seen as an opportunity for the development as well. So, at one level, today's uncertainty induces greater caution about international exposure, whether we consider it from the perspective of implementing strategy or mitigating vulnerability. India happens to have the concerns on both these sides. So, further, he mentioned about strategic autonomy. Now, the world is moving towards the strategic autonomy, and this there has been the revival of the interest in strategic autonomy. If I tell you about from India's perspective, we can take the example of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So Atmanirbhar Bharat means self-reliant India. So it is also one of the major shift which the world is seeing currently. Next, he tells about globalization again. So there, in present day scenario, there has been widening differences among and within the society, and creation of new global equation have meant counter forces of globalization has set into the motion. Like globalization lead to homogenization, but now in present day scenario, there have been widening differences among many things altogether. Next, he says that currently different nations are struggling to find the right balance. What is this right balance? So, like this right balance can be different for the different nations. So, some seek to address regime security, while other to protect their technology, and for others, it may be the capabilities. So, these are the different arenas where their balance might lie. Next, he mentions of refreshing analysis and policy. How much analyzing the things and making the policy out of it is important. So he mentions about recent trends. Like after 2008, the world has become more multipolar. Like initially, I have mentioned about Cold War and after post Cold War events. But he says that we cannot forget completely what has happened in the past, and especially he says after 2008 the world has become more for rebalancing, because there has been steadily emergence of multipolarity. There has been shifting terms with US engagement, and we cannot even forget about the ending of forever war in Afghanistan. Next, he mentions about China. So the rise of China is equally important for us to analyze, because the global consequences of the rise of China's economy are being more prevalent and more apparent to us. So these developments are have opened also space for other players, and essentially the regional and other with greater potential. So, but what is important for India? So, how world is perceiving India? So, India, the other nations are perceiving India as a nation with a lot of potential, and he's saying that about Ukraine conflict has told us or made us realize that how much Russia is important for us. So he says that as a result, we can conclude that we are moving towards a more uncertain and insecure future. Next, he mentions about such a prospect clearly calls for greater diplomatic energies and political creativity. It is even more necessary now to harmonize the pursuit of national interest with the responsibility of collective good. Okay, so next he mentions about Second World War. Beyond the immediate compulsion, there are also the structural challenges of the current world order that confront us. Most of these challenges, which are the structural challenges, they are emanating from the outcome, can be seen as an outcome of Second World War and fashioning of international architecture in 1945. So he says that like few century we have been under the Western domination, and because of which intellectual and cultural facet still they are prominent of West. So he says that now he is mentioning about how past is important to consider. So allowing the past to influence thinking is however not a predicament that can solely be attributed to the other. So sometimes it is an assumption that we maintain ourselves because of a particular experience continues to resonate. For this, he gave the example of India only, that how the past event resonate with the present event. He mentioned of the war with China in the year 1962. So even the decades later, the 1962 war with the China stirs suspicion of that country in the public mind. Similarly, our hesitations concerning with the West derive the memories of 1947, 1965, and 1971 conflicts. These are the war which we had with Pakistan, and US has side over our opposition or the countering force. Next, he mentions about the importance of 1991 economic reforms were impactful enough to that the need to build on it was not given priority till recently, because those reforms are the only reason that today we have strengthened manufacturing and developing technologies as well as improving our social indices. So, what we can say right now, so India have the courage to revisit the past and draw the right lessons from abroad as well as from the home. So now he is saying that how much it is important to learn from the past and to strategize by analyzing what has happened in the past. Next, he says about the recent developments. So in recent development, how importance Indo-Pacific has taken tells about the position of India in the global world, and mechanisms like Quad or I2U2, any initiative like ISA. ISA is International Solar Alliance, and we know the prominence of India in this. But he says the China challenge. The China challenge can be only be countered by reversing past neglect. Whatever things we have neglected in the past, only while countering those things we can counter China. What were these neglect? First is about border infrastructure to strengthen our borders. Second is about maintaining deployment, and third is being about utilizing the possibilities that global dynamics can offer. Then he mentioned about the economic front. So on the economic front, we have to be judicious in picking the FTAs. FTAs are free trade agreement. It is more about trade imports and exports. It makes the business easy abroad and framework that truly serves our interest. Next, he mentions about continuity and change. A few things are continuously having we are seeing, but with the change. He is going to mention about all these things. We are going to talk more about national security in this. So he says that for any polity, national security has an undeniable primacy. How much important national security is, he says. So he says that Indians are more conscious about national security because in the last 75 years we have observed a lot of uncertainties, a lot of war, a lot of crisis. So this makes Indians to be more conscious of our national security prominently. So he says that a lot of our foreign policy is devoted to preparing for, awaiting, mitigating, and reacting to security threats. So clearly, a time has come that we must decisively address long-standing vulnerability that a competitive world regularly exploits. Because a nation like India, we are getting vulnerable because of these things. These are security threat which we often see makes us vulnerable, and any nation which is vulnerable is on the verge of getting exploited by any other nation, because the world is so much competitive, and definitely we have to look for our national power and we have to make our strengthened. Next, he mentioned about the political surprise. It was the event of the abrogation of Article 370. He says in August 2019 that the Article 370 issued was firmly settled. So this shows one positive, but at the same time, the issue of Jammu and Kashmir is being highlighted, that it is still long standing with Pakistan from 1947. From the partition has led to this, but even till now it has not been resolved. Next, he mentions about that importance of borders. He says that we need to equally apply ourselves to the hard task of securing our borders effectively, including through the promotion of vibrant village program. So it is initiative of the government about the villages in the borders. So through the promotion of vibrant village program, the villages in the border can be developed. So these are all the things he is mentioning about national security of India. So he's talking about foreign policy. So he says that foreign policy is a constant exercise of building power and exercising influence. Like foreign policy is going to be the very continuous in throughout the process. Even when in 2010, 2020, the foreign policy is the only constant he is saying. Now next to it he's mentioning about the importance of international relation, which I have already mentioned in chapter second, I guess. So international relations are played out in more domains and with greater integration than before, but precisely because it impacts us so profoundly, each of us today has obligation to take interest in the game that the nation play. So nation playing games are all is all about international politics, how nations are fulfilling their needs, which are actually national interest, by having diplomacy, by having negotiation, by having talks with the other nation. This is all this he is giving a term which as a play which the games or the games which the nations are playing altogether. So next, he is mentioning about India's image in the world today. He is saying that yes, we need to do a lot of work even today, but there has been a lot of growing recognition in the world that India is last getting its act uh, together. So, but there is a realization that big issues of our time cannot be solved without India's contribution or participation. And here he is mentioning about COVID pandemic, that how issues which are international issues cannot be solved without India. This is the importance of India in current world order. And he says that India can resend the terms of engagement with the world, and also this is the time where India has the need to take the greater responsibility. Here he gives the example of G20 presidency. So the G20 presidency offered important opportunities to demonstrate to the world by tabling new ideas, shaping agenda, ensuring consensus, fashioning action plans, and promoting G20 enlargement. So this shows the leadership which India has shown in G20. Next, he says that India today has determination, vision, as well as perseverance to enhance its global standing. And as the world enters into a new era of turbulence, we as Bharat, we matter more. And the confidence with which we will accomplish all this one of the defining characteristics of Bharat. It is one of the defining characteristics of Bharat, as the name of the book itself is being about Bharat. So he's saying that even amidst all the tensions, all the chaos in the world, in the between the nations, and the vulnerabilities, India is outshining, and this is the characteristic of India, that is Bharat. With this, I have concluded the third chapter, and the fourth chapter I'll be continuing in my next video. Thanks for watching my video. Signing off, Priyanshi Samant. Bye.